Alright guys, in today's video we're going to be taking some time here to go over a new rumor that has popped up, a very interesting rumor, and also in my opinion a very believable rumor, which is why I'm taking time to talk about it, that has to do with Guerrilla Games and their second team, which we know is working on a multiplayer title for PlayStation 5 that will most likely be coming out sooner rather than later. This doesn't have anything to do with their other team, their A team if you will, that is currently working on a follow-up and a sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. This is just talking about their second team working on a multiplayer title. So it says here that fans of PlayStation exclusive title Socom have been requesting a series return for years. It's consistently one of the most demanded franchises and frequently appears in replies to various PlayStation lifestyle tweets, whether remotely related to Socom or not. According to notorious industry insider Tidix, Guerrilla Games currently has a second team developing a multiplayer Socom game for the PlayStation. Their tweet is a quote tweet of his own info from 2017 where he said that Sony was looking for the right developer to bring back the Socom series, though at the time it was simply internal talks with nothing officially set in stone. Tidix specifically mentions Guerrilla Games' second team because all signs point to Guerrilla's primary development focus being a sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. A recent job listing further increased speculation for a Horizon Zero Dawn 2, and after the massive success of the first game, it seems an obvious choice for the studio's next big title. The Killzone developer has seen a lot of changes and evolution since the release of Killzone Shadowfall at the PS4's launch. Having only developed Killzone titles since 2004, Horizon was seen as a massive change of pace for a studio that had dealt in dark first-person shooters for more than a decade. Most recently, Guerrilla worked with Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions, lending them the use of the Decima engine for Death Stranding. Guerrilla's proven an ability to flex its creative and development muscles outside of the Killzone franchise, and though Socom might be a little closer to home than the likes of Horizon, it would still bring some unique challenges. The last Socom game released in 2011 for the PS3 from Zipper Interactive, the same developer who had been heading up the franchise since the first release in 2002. Socom 4 received mixed reviews, and the later closure of Zipper seemed like it dashed all hopes for an opportunity for the series to redeem itself, even if Sony promised that the company never retires franchises all the way back in 2012. Take this with a grain of salt, however. A Guerrilla Games Socom title is purely a rumor for now, even if it is coming from an insider with a good track record for getting these kinds of things right. Even Tidix says that the second team at Guerrilla is supposed to be developing a multiplayer Socom game, stopping just short of outright confirming it. If he's right, though, then Sony will be giving some die-hard fans something they've been waiting for quite some time. So this is a very interesting rumor that I had to take some time here to talk about because I do believe it, if I'm being honest. I do believe that this is very well something that Sony has Guerrilla Games, their second team, currently working on. We've already known for a while now that it is in fact a multiplayer project. And some people got concerned at first because they thought, oh no, the developers of Horizon Zero Dawn, Guerrilla Games, they're going from Horizon back to something multiplayer based, which was upsetting because people loved Horizon. But then we found out that no, that's not what's happening. They actually have grown their team significantly, and they have a second team now that is just fully dedicated to this multiplayer title, while the A team, the main team, is working on the big follow-up to Horizon Zero Dawn. And I think that this is interesting for a few reasons. First being it really kind of, I think, highlights what Sony's plans are for multiplayer going into next generation. We do know that Sony wants to have more multiplayer experiences, which I'm not opposed to at all, honestly. I love multiplayer games just as much as I love my single player games. The only time I have a problem when publishers want to do multiplayer games or live service type games is if A, it's coming at the expense of single player games, and B, if they're egregiously monetized and they're just completely anti-consumer. Those are the only times I really have issues with multiplayer type games, but we know that Sony's not going to deviate from what they do best. Sony is aware of what makes PlayStation so successful these days, what they're known for, what does really well for them, not only commercially, but also critically as well, that being their narrative-driven AAA single-player experiences. But that doesn't mean that they can't expand, right? That doesn't mean that they can't have their own multiplayer offerings. There are, believe it or not, a lot of PlayStation gamers and fans who do want to see Sony have more multiplayer offerings and have a good, healthy balance there. And it seems like what they're doing with Guerrilla Games, regardless of whether or not this ends up being a Socom title, does seem like they're trying to find that healthy balance by having their studios really be massive studios divided into two teams, where one team is working on the big AAA single-player experiences and the other team is working on some type of multiplayer experience. We even know that Naughty Dog is currently working on a big multiplayer experience alongside finishing up The Last of Us Part 2. So it just goes to show that this is where they're trying to achieve that healthy balance. It's funny talking about Socom because I remember not too long ago when that game Predator Hunting Grounds, which is also a PS4 exclusive, when that was announced, the first teaser trailer anyway, it showed a soldier that looked like he was using modern military equipment, and a lot of people were thinking when it was shown during the State of Play live that, oh man, is this a new Socom game? We found out it wasn't, but it just goes to show that the demand and the excitement would be there for a new Socom title. Now, another thing that I do want to bring up in this video that I think kind of adds to this rumor a little bit and really kind of lends even more credibility to it is that at some point, I don't remember exactly when it was, although I do know it wasn't that long ago, we had learned that Guerrilla Games, their second team that's working on the multiplayer title, hired some developers who worked on Rainbow Six Siege. Now, does this automatically mean that of course, now they're confirmed they're working on a modern military type shooter? No, it doesn't, but it would make a lot of sense, right? Especially when you think about what Socom is. Apologies for that sound in the background. That's just somebody with a very loud vehicle driving by while I'm recording. Sorry about that, but it would make a lot of sense if you think about it, right? It would make sense that you get people who are very familiar with how to make a modern military tactical shooter, which is exactly what Rainbow Six is, and recruit them so that they can help Guerrilla Games, which Guerrilla Games they know how to make multiplayer titles, specifically multiplayer shooters. They've proven that they are very much capable of that, but they've never really made a game that's similar to Socom, where it's that tactical and it's that based. It's based in modern military, modern day weaponry and all that stuff. So I think if you look at that, it really does kind of maybe hint that this is legitimate, this is true, and it's coming from an insider, Tidix, who has a proven track record, but he's not coming out here like this article said and saying, yep, this is it for sure. He's saying that based off of what he has heard, this is what they should be working on, and maybe he's doing this to maybe kind of, not get in any type of trouble or anything, because him saying it that way and him wording it that way, he's not directly saying something as if, oh yeah, I learned this, I know this for sure, but I don't know. To me, I would be very excited to see a Socom game announced for the PS5. And again, I do think that whatever it is, if it is this Socom game, regardless of what it ends up being, it will come out sooner rather than later, because I don't expect it to be a full-blown AAA game, but I don't expect it to be a full-blown AA game either. I expect it to be right in between what you would expect from a AA and AAA game, right between AA and AAA. I think that's what this title will be, and we do know it's going to be multiplayer heavy, so maybe it could even be free to play. It's hard to say. I don't think that that's necessarily likely, but I'm going to be interested to see if whatever this title is revealed at E3 next year, or maybe alongside the announcement of the PlayStation 5, because we know we're going to be getting The Last of Us Part 2. We know we're going to be getting Ghost of Tsushima. And we know that Bluepoint is currently working on a big PlayStation 5 title. So with this knowledge, it wouldn't surprise me if Sony tried to have whatever this game is ready by the launch of the PlayStation 5. And so maybe we could see a situation, to kind of, round out this video and finish going over it here, where the PlayStation 5's launch lineup could end up being something from Bluepoint Games, most likely a Demon Souls remake, which would cover that single player thing, which we always kind of speculate here every time we get new information like this. A Demon Souls remake, and then maybe we could also see a multiplayer title from Guerrilla Games that ends up being Socom. So you have your single player experience. I mean, I know Demon Souls does have multiplayer, but you know what I mean. It's not like a heavy multiplayer game. That's not the bulk of what that game is. You have your single player experience with Demon Souls, and then you also have your multiplayer experience ready at launch with Socom. I think that would be a pretty solid launch lineup. And then maybe even Gran Turismo 7 as well to kind of add that extra variety for people. So I could see that definitely being a possibility, but I had to take some time here to go over this information because it's very interesting. It seems very likely, it's very plausible, and again, I really want to know what you guys think of this. Would you be disappointed to find out that this multiplayer game they're working on is actually not a return to Killzone, but instead a return to Socom? Or would you actually be very excited about that? I'm sure that anybody who's a fan of Socom would be excited, but, you know, as somebody, you know, like just speaking for me personally, as somebody who's never really had too much experience with Socom, even I would be pretty excited to see what a modern day Socom game would be like on PS5. I would definitely be willing to give it a chance, especially knowing it's being developed by Guerrilla Games' second team. I'd be all for that. So let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. Be sure to leave the video a like if you did enjoy it or found it informative or you enjoyed my commentary. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.